4. Spine-chilling tales uncovered. The terrifying secrets of haunted hospitals exposed. Emily's heart raced as she pushed through the worn double doors of Cedar Hollow Hospital, her breath hanging in the frosty air. The dim overhead lights flickered, casting eerie shadows that danced across the cracked linoleum floor. It was too quiet, an unsettling stillness that felt like a warning. She glanced over her shoulder, half expecting to see something looming, but the hallway remained empty. With every step deeper into the heart of the hospital, her anxiety grew. The musty smell of stale antiseptic and something rotten clawing at her throat. "Is my mom in here?" she whispered to the silence, her voice shaking. There was no answer, just the faint rustle of something unseen in the corner of her vision. Panic surged through her, but Emily pushed onward, her resolve stronger than the fear prickling at her spine. Suddenly, a soft groan echoed from a nearby room. Her heart thudded violently in her chest as she approached the door, hesitation gripping her. It was just her imagination, she told herself. But as she leaned closer, the gnawing sensation intensified. Shadows shifted in the corner, and she stumbled back, chills skittering across her skin. How could everything feel so wrong in a place marked for healing? As Emily forged ahead, the walls closed in, pulsating with whispers of despair. She passed abandoned nurses' stations, the faded photographs of smiling staff stark against the peeling paint, a cruel reminder of happier days. It felt like the very building was breathing, heavy with secrets that threatened her sanity. Then she stumbled across a heavily dust-covered room, a graveyard of medical equipment lying in disarray. It felt wrong, like something had been left behind, memories buried under layers of neglect. She rifled through the remnants, her hands trembling, and discovered a brittle journal wedged between rusting tools. The pages were yellowed, but the ink was still legible, a journal chronicling the horror of a doctor once admired by all. This haunted chronicler wrote tales of medical malpractice that had turned friends into foes. Promises of care swiftly replaced with betrayal. Before she could comprehend the gruesome facts detailed within, her instincts screamed to stop. Hadn't she heard rumors about the hospital before? The staff going missing, patients left to languish in the dark. It all made sense now. She gripped the journal tightly, a sinking feeling moving through her as she began to understand the magnitude of the horror around her. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Suddenly, out of the corner of her eye, she spotted movement, a shadow skirting across the doorway. Her breath caught in her throat as an icy chill enveloped her, a phantom touch brushing against her skin. Panic surged through her veins as the flickering lights above intensified, momentarily illuminating the hallway. They revealed too much. It was a figure cloaked in darkness, features obscured, but eyes glinting with an insatiable hunger. Emily's legs felt like lead as she backed away, but the figure stepped closer, confirming her worst fears. This hospital was no sanctuary. It was a trap. Intimidation radiated from the figure, mingled with the chilling truth that she was now entangled in a sinister game, a pawn in a nightmarish reality she had never chosen. Before she could gather her thoughts, the figure's whispers crept into her ears, promises woven with threats. The diary secrets closed in around her, pressing down like a suffocating blanket. She realized the night was far from over, and now the real horror was about to begin. How far would she go to save her mother and expose the darkness that festered in Cedar Hollow? Emily's heart hammered like a frantic drum, drowning out all rational thought. The figure loomed closer, its silhouette twisting against the flickering light. A chill that felt like death wrapped itself around her, squeezing tighter with each passing second. She had to move. She had to escape. Even as her instincts screamed, her feet felt rooted in place. The whispers grew clearer, more insistent. "Help," they mourned, but the voices sounded twisted, almost mocking. She had read about the unanswered cries for help in the journal, tales of patients abandoned in their darkest hour. Was this their tormentor, or were they demanding that she join them in their agony? The weight of despair threatened to crush her, but just then a thunderous crash echoed from the hallway behind her. Emily whipped around, her breath hitching. The figure had halted, frozen mid-step, as if torn between her and whatever chaos had erupted behind. She took her chance. With adrenaline coursing through her veins, she darted away, sprinting towards the sound. The dim corridor stretched endlessly, lined with peeling walls that felt like they were closing in. She could hear the whispers again, almost like a chant. "Stay, help," and every syllable pierced her heart like needles. Shadows flickered at the edges of the hall, shapes morphing and warping as if they were alive. She wanted to run faster, to escape this maze of horror, but she couldn't shake the feeling that the whispers knew her, had been waiting for her. Emily stumbled into a room. The door creaked ominously as she slammed it shut behind her. She leaned against it, breathing heavily, but the solace was short-lived. Her eyes adjusted to the dim light, revealing a scene frozen in torment. Medical charts littered the floor, as if someone had desperately tried to flee. A single bed sat in the corner, sheets stained and twisted into disturbing shapes. Something moved in the corner, a shadow peeking from the far end of the room. Emily squinted, trying to make sense of it. Another figure? Slowly, it emerged into the light, and her heart plummeted. It was a patient, emaciated and ghostly pale, eyes wide with terror. "They're coming for you," he rasped, voice like shards of glass. "Who?" Emily whispered, feeling the dread coiling tighter in her stomach. "The ones that knew," he replied, trembling. "The ones that didn't leave. They want to keep you here. They—" A series of jagged thuds interrupted him. The door rattled violently, like something desperate to break in. Emily's blood turned to ice. The figure from before was relentless, now more than a shadow. It was a being of wrath, fueled by darkness. The whispers echoed again, louder, as if the walls themselves were in on the sinister conspiracy against her. Without thinking, Emily grabbed a chart from the floor and shoved it into her bag. It felt like a lifeline, the potential key to understanding what had happened here. The patient's face twisted in fear, and she could hardly look at him as she approached the window. "I need to find my mom," she urged him, but part of her knew she was out of time. He shook his head, more shadows pressing against the door. "You have to leave. Get out, now." Emily steeled herself, desperation clawing at her. She moved toward the window, but the creak intensified behind her. The door was about to give way. She could feel it. "Run!" he screamed, as the door burst open, revealing the cloaked figure, now more terrifying up close, its eyes gleaming with a nightmarish hunger. Emily didn't look back. She launched herself through the window, pain shooting through her as glass splintered around her. She hit the ground hard, the breath knocked from her lungs. But as she scrambled to her feet, a new horror struck her. Shadows twisted in the air around Cedar Hollow, and she heard the voices of the lost echoing from within, urging her not to leave, not without them. What had she unleashed, and at what cost would she find her mother? The night was still young. The whispers were growing louder, and if she didn't uncover the truth soon, she might not escape the wrath that lurked behind Cedar Hollow's walls, or have to face the fate of those still trapped inside.
Emily's breath came in sharp gasps as she stumbled away from the crumbling building. The darkness pressed in around her, a suffocating cloak that tugged at her limbs, urging her back. Each step she took felt like stepping into a nightmare that refused to fade, the looming specter of Cedar Hollow casting a relentless shadow over her mind. "Get out, just run," she muttered to herself. But something deep inside her clung to that place. The whispers echoed clearer now, wrapping around her like cold fingers. They warned of unspeakable horrors, trapped souls crying out for salvation or revenge. Emily couldn't ignore their plea, no matter how much her instincts screamed for her to flee. Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught her eye. A figure darted past the mouth of the alley she had turned into. Heart racing, she squinted into the gloom. It was a woman, disheveled and wide-eyed, glancing back towards the hospital with a mix of terror and urgency. "Wait!" Emily called out, her voice thin in the oppressive night. But as soon as she stepped into the light of a nearby street lamp, the woman vanished, swallowed up by the shadows. "Damn it," Emily cursed, her frustration mixing with fear. She shook her head, pushing the thought of the mysterious figure aside. Her mind was too clouded with thoughts of her mother. She needed to find answers. With renewed determination, she navigated the twisted pathways of the Cedar Hollow grounds. She approached a fence that encircled the property, its rusted barbed wire glimmering under the pale moonlight. The chilling breeze swept through, carrying whispers that felt more like a physical presence brushing past her skin. "Help us!" Emily's pulse quickened again. She jolted up, eyes darting into the trees lining the edge of the property. Something moved, barely a shadow, just out of reach. "Who's there?" she shouted, though her voice trembled. No answer but the rustling leaves. Rounding the edge of the fence, she spotted a small shed. It stood at the edge of the hospital grounds, decrepit and partially concealed by the overgrown grass. Something pulled her toward it, the faintest glimmer of hope. It might contain answers, or more questions. She pushed open the door, which creaked ominously, the sound reverberating in the silence. The interior was shrouded in darkness, cluttered with dusty tools and rotting medical equipment. Her flashlight flickered as she scanned the room. On a table in the corner, a file lay open, pages yellowed and crumpled. "Please, help!" The voice echoed again, almost pleading. It was coming from behind another pile of debris. Heart pounding, Emily stepped closer. "Who's there?" she whispered, dread creeping into her stomach. She pried away the debris, revealing a small trapdoor partly obscured by an old tarp. "Help us," it whispered again, a chorus of anguished voices merging into one. With trembling hands, she pulled at the latch, forcing the trapdoor open. A foul stench wafted up, along with the sense of something ancient and rotting. Perhaps the voices were trapped below, waiting for someone to let them free. Just then, a crashing sound echoed outside, the night coming alive with terror again. Footsteps trampled over the grass, and the whisper silenced, replaced by a single voice that rang out clear as glass. "You shouldn't have come back." Emily froze, heart racing wildly. The chilling realization blazed through her. Not only was she being hunted, but she was also being watched by the very souls who had claimed this haunted ground. With trapdoors still ajar, the weight of her decision pressed on her shoulders. Return to the darkness below where the whispers begged her to help, or face the malevolent figure outside that awaited her return. The air was thick with dread, and she knew one wrong step could trap her forever in this nightmare. How much longer could she survive? And in seeking the truth, could she uncover horrors meant to stay buried? Or would she become just another lost voice in Cedar Hollow's whispers? The moment hung heavily in the air. Emily's heart drummed in her chest, echoing like a war cry against the encroaching darkness. She peered into the trapdoor's yawning mouth, the foul stench clawing at her nostrils. Was it the lingering scent of despair, or something more sinister lurking below?
But outside, a presence loomed, dragging her reluctant gaze away. Footsteps echoed louder now, crashing through the brush, relentless in pursuit. "You shouldn't have come back." The voice was low, dripping with a predatory hunger. It seemed to wrap around her, tightening like a noose. Who was it? What did they want? Desperation flickered within her. She needed answers about her mother, and the voices offered a pull she couldn't resist. Yet something primal told her to flee, to run into the safety of the night. In a moment of defiance, Emily stepped back from the trapdoor and turned toward the door of the shed. Mental warfare raged within her. But deep down, she felt they needed her, a cry for salvation trapped in a world of suffering. Suddenly, a crash sent a rippling wave of panic through her body. The door slammed against the wall, revealing a hulking figure in the shadows with eyes like burning coals. "Get away from that," he growled, voice heavy with darkness and rage. Her instinct kicked in, and she bolted, dodging past the figure's outstretched hand. She dashed through the door and into the night, breathless with terror. Every noise pulsing around her heightened her fear. The rustle of leaves, the distant wail of the wind, the thud of her racing heart. "Emily," the voice called again, mocking, taunting. She ran with everything she had, weaving between the trees that loomed like skeletal fingers waiting to ensnare her. Red-streaked moonlight filtered through the branches, illuminating fleeting shadows that flickered at the edge of her vision. She felt eyes on her, a haunting gaze that paralyzed her spirit. "Where are you?" she gasped, desperation creeping into her voice. No answer came, only the relentless echoes of her own breaths punctuating the night. She stumbled forward, her thoughts frantic. Should she go back? Could she face that terrible presence again? A sudden memory struck her. Her mother's voice, steady and reassuring, cutting through the fog of fear. They were here. The lost souls, the forgotten. They were waiting. A jolt of clarity pierced through her survival instincts. If only she could understand what they wanted, perhaps she could help them, and herself. She skidded to a halt near the edge of the property, scanning for movement. Then, from behind a nearby tree, the disheveled woman appeared again, her expression wild with panic. "You don't belong here. You need to leave now." Emily's heart raced at the sight of her. "But what about?" "Run!" the woman shouted, stepping towards her. But just as she reached out, a dark form erupted from the shadows, darting toward them both. "Emily!" The voice called again, louder and more threatening, filling the air with dread. Instinctively, Emily's body surged forward, away from the apparition, toward the depths of Cedar Hollow, pulled by the desperate need to uncover the truth, to face whatever awaited her. As she sprinted back toward that cursed place, adrenaline surged through her veins. Fear was relentless, but the deeper she plunged into Cedar Hollow, the louder the whispers became, begging, pleading. What lay ahead? A truth buried, or a terror set to consume her? With darkness blanketing her like an unwelcome embrace, she took a deep breath, readying herself for whatever awaited beyond the next shadow. But what if the very act of seeking salvation would seal her fate instead? What horrors would she unearth in the quest for understanding? And would she be the one to save or lose those trapped forever in Cedar Hollow's grip? Emily's breath came in ragged gasps as she plunged deeper into the thicket, each step sending frenzied whispers spiraling through her mind. The soft ground turned treacherous under her feet, roots and stones reaching up like grasping hands. Focus! She couldn't let fear guide her now. Branches snagged at her clothing, tearing at her skin as she fought through, the sinister voice echoing behind her. "You shouldn't have come back." A growl, a promise of danger, dug its claws into her resolve. She dared not look back. She could feel it, a presence,
thick and heavy, like fog closing in. As the moon dipped behind dark clouds, the shadows grew denser. A fleeting memory of the woman flashed in her mind, her wild eyes full of urgency. "You don't belong here!" The urgency sounded louder now, a bitter reminder of the stakes. What did that mean? She had to understand. Emily felt a surge of defiance. No, she wasn't just going to run. The truth was buried here in the darkness. It was calling her. She pressed on, dodging ferns that whipped against her arms as uncertainty churned in her gut. The warped trees groaned like ancient sentinels as she navigated through them, guided only by the sickly glow of the ghostly moonlight. The air grew colder. It gnawed at her skin. Then she heard it, a whisper slicing through the silence like ice. "Help us." She halted, her heart wild. Who was pleading, and where were they? The whisper seemed to swirl around her, pulling her in with a cruel charm, drawing her closer to a disturbance just ahead. Peering out, she found herself in a clearing, the ground strewn with brittle leaves that crunched like
Bones beneath her weight. In a sudden moment of clarity, the fog lifted momentarily, and she spotted the faint outline of what seemed to be an old well, its mouth gaping like a hungry maw. The whispers heightened, a cacophony now, each word distinct yet layered. Faces swam to the surface of her vision, ghostly remnants twisting in agony, fingers reaching out as if trying to grasp her very soul. The fear squeezed her chest, yet somehow curiosity flooded her veins. "Why are you here?" she whispered, desperation flooding her words. They didn't answer outright, but their expressions twisted, reflecting pain and confusion. One ghostly figure stepped forward, a woman with sunken eyes that bore into her with a livid intensity. "Find her. She's down there. She's trapped." Emily's breath caught in her throat. Her mother? Could it really be? The thought electrified her, but disbelief clouded her mind. "Where? Who?" she demanded, feeling a mix of fear and hope crash violently together. With a sudden rustling in the bushes behind her, Emily spun around to find nothing but the darkness leering back. Panic swept over her, urging her to sprint again. But the well was there, its presence magnetic. "I can't leave you," she murmured, knowing now that she had come too far to turn back. Yet the ground trembled beneath her feet, and the whispers distorted into a shriek, sending chills racing down her spine. "Help us!" they cried, a chorus of haunting despair, as if the very air thickened with anguished energy. Suddenly, one shadow lunged forward, forming an amorphous shape that loomed at the edge of her vision. It was close now, the malevolence radiating off it palpable. "You won't leave," it hissed, and the world around her blurred. Emily took a step back, heart thundering in her chest, eyes locked on the well, caught between salvation and madness. What was about to break the surface? Was it the truth she sought, or a terror meant to seal her fate forever? The shadows twisted and curled around Emily like smoke, the well standing defiantly amid the chaos. The voice that loomed had a rasping edge, a spine-chilling echo that clawed at her sanity. It was getting nearer. She could almost taste the rancid breath of whatever lurked just out of sight. Panic surged within her, amplifying the racing pulse in her throat. "Help us! Help!" The cries were urgent, frantic. Yet just as quickly, they dissolved into a low, mocking laughter that chilled her more than the surrounding night. They weren't trying to save her. They were drawing her in closer, 1 foot at a time, as if she was a moth heading for a flame. "Stay away!" she shouted, voice trembling against the weight of her fear. But the words fell flat, drowned out by the thunderous pounding of her heart. The outline of the well loomed larger, more grotesque. Emily fought against the pull, struggling to move, but her legs felt like stone.
Then she heard.
A soft thud, followed by the sound of liquid splashing. Something was moving in the depths of the well, something alive. The implications of that thought sent a chill through her veins, freezing her blood. Find her! She's down there! The sunken-eyed woman surged forward, her ghastly visage twisting in Emily's mind, begging for release. With an instinct sharper than any knife, Emily edged closer, the macabre beauty of the well captivating her senses. "Who?" she shouted, desperation now dominating her tone. "Who are you talking about?" The wind picked up suddenly, howling through the trees like 1,000 restless souls. It drowned out the whispers and shifted the atmosphere, warping her vision. The shadows lengthened, curling towards her like fingers itching to pull her into the abyss. Without warning, a hand shot up from the well, a skeletal grip emerging from the darkness and clutching the edge. An unearthly scream erupted from below, raw, unfiltered anguish that made her bones rattle. The clawing figure pulled itself upward, dragging heavy chains along with it. Emily stumbled back, breath hitching in her throat. "Mom?" The words slipped from her lips, a desperate plea laced with hope. But the face emerging was not familiar. It was distorted, a mix of grief and rage, eyes wide with a terrifying hunger. "Help us!" it wailed again, its form swirling as shadows melded into a nightmarish visage, roaring with a sound that was part human, part something else entirely. Panic ignited inside her. She turned to run, but the earth trembled beneath her feet, roots rising like serpents ready to ensnare her. The voices grew louder, a deafening chorus that filled the air, twisting her thoughts in a spiraled chaos. They were everywhere now. The wretched souls clawed at her, rushing forward through the veil of darkness. "Help us!" they cried. With every step she took, she met their icy gaze, reflecting her own terror, but also something else, a pleading. A glimpse of movement caught her eye, someone standing on the fringe of the clearing, a figure cloaked in shadows. "Emily!" it called, a voice grating yet familiar. Was it another ghost, or was it someone she knew, a thread of sanity in the overwhelming nightmare? The figures rushed forward, and in a moment of clarity, Emily found a flicker of hope. "Get away!" she screamed as she bolted toward the figure, believing desperate flight was her only option. But just as she reached for them, hands clawed at her ankle from behind, dragging her down, down into the darkness, pulling her towards the open mouth of the well. Fingers tangled with dirt and roots, and they yanked her into the depths, a world of despair and madness enveloping her. "Help us!" the cry echoed one last time. As Emily fell into the abyss, she understood. There were no answers down there, only secrets meant to remain buried. What awaited her was a revelation that could either save or destroy her, one that would change everything she thought she knew. What had she truly awakened in those depths? The darkness enveloped Emily as she plummeted, a rush of cold air biting at her skin. She felt weightless, suspended between the echoes of despair and the crushing darkness. Then, with a sudden jolt, she landed hard on damp earth, sprawling in a pit that stank of rot and decay. Her breath came in ragged gasps as she pushed herself up, wiping grime from her eyes. Flickers of pale light danced at the edges of her vision, illuminating grotesque shapes that writhed in the shadows. Whispers curled around her, familiar and foreign, taunting her. "Help us! Help us!" Their cries pierced her heart, but she felt more confusion than compassion. She couldn't help them. Not now. Panic gripped her throat, tightening like a noose. She scrambled to her feet, forcing herself to look around. The well had no obvious path back upward. And then she saw it, a figure crouched in the corner of the cavern, its shape contorted by pain and madness. Sunken eyes glowed with a knowing recognition. "Emily," it rasped, its voice like gravel.
It was the face from her nightmares, gnarled and twisted with suffering. "No!" She staggered back, instinctively raising her hands to shield herself. "You're not real. You're not—" "It's your fault!" the figure screeched, launching itself forward. "You brought us here. You awakened us!" The voice echoed like thunder, drowning out the whispers as Emily felt the ground quake beneath her. "Leave me alone!" she screamed, turning to escape. But the shadows moved in unpredictable ways, closing in on her like a pack of wolves. She ducked and weaved, her heart pounding furiously. "Help us! You have to find her!" Emily halted, feeling the familiar pull of a desperate plea. Somewhere in the dark, another presence lingered, a soul trapped in the chaos, calling out to her. She bit her lip, fighting against the urge to listen, to succumb. And then she saw it, the outline of a door in the darkness, barely visible, but promising escape. "Run!" a voice screamed in her head. So she ran. Each step felt as if she were wading through thick mud, fear clinging to her like a second skin. She could feel the shadows grasping at her, trying to hold her back, fingers of malevolence brushing against her legs, pulling. "No!" she gasped as she lunged for the door, praying it would lead her back to the surface, back to safety. But the door was only an illusion, dissolving into mist as she reached for the handle. "No, no!" Tears blurred her vision. Was this her end? Was she meant to forever wander these lost, dark corridors? A broken laugh echoed around her, resonating off the cavern walls. "You can't leave. You belong to us now." Suddenly, a cold hand gripped her shoulder, churning her stomach with icy dread. She spun around to face it, but it was nothing more than a wisp of dark smoke. "Embrace
The truth!" it hissed. "Your mother, she never left. She is here, with us." The realization slashed through her, raw and desperate. Emily staggered back, her mind racing. "What do you mean? Where is she?" But the shadows only laughed, the sound reverberating as they pressed in closer. Just as despair threatened to swallow her whole, she found a sliver of resolve. "I will find her," she declared, steeling herself against the encroaching abyss. "I will find the truth." The shadows recoiled momentarily, but then surged forward, their whispers mingling into a chaotic cacophony, drowning her in spectral despair. The darkness felt alive, twitching and crackling with anger. As she braced for the inevitable, she heard a soft voice amid the chaos, clear and haunting. "Emily, don't forget me." Every fiber of her being vibrated with urgency. She had to dive deeper, descend further into the madness, or lose everything she ever held dear. The darkness beckoned, wrapping around her like an all-consuming shroud. What lay ahead was the true test of her will. Would she brave the unthinkable to uncover the truths that the shadows desperately guarded? But something else stirred in the darkness, something malignant, watching, waiting. What if it was too late? The shadows surged forward, choking the air around Emily. She could feel their icy breath, laced with rancid whispers, wrapping around her. Focusing, she turned toward the source of the voice calling her name. "You're not lost, yet," it echoed, weaving in and out of the stifling darkness. Desperate, she strained her eyes, peering into the depths of the cavern. She could see figures distort and twist, their shapes lost to the blackness, but she sensed something different among them. "Someone is here, someone I need to find." She darted into the depth of the pit. Each step thrummed through her bones, reverberating with the weight of dread. The ground felt alive, pulsating with an eerie rhythm that echoed in her ears like a heartbeat. "Stay close," the voices warned, but they were mixed, intertwining into a single haunting sound that urged her to tread carefully. "Where are you?" she gasped, scanning the shifting shadows. They seemed to lean away from her, almost in terror. Yet within that fear, a glimmer of hope erupted.
A figure emerged, a girl about her age, luminous against the darkness, toppling like a flickering ember. "Help me!" the girl cried, despair etched across her angelic features. I'm here!" Emily reached out, her fingertips grazing the cool air. As she stepped closer, the girl faded, falling deeper into an abyss of suffocating gloom, merging with the shadows that embraced her. "No, don't go!" In her heart, the fear surged. "What do you want?" she shouted, fury giving way to desperation. The air crackled, and she felt something gnawing at her resolve. "I will not be like you." "That's what they all say," a voice gurgled, echoing through the cavern like a broken record. Millions of eyes opened in the shadows, reflecting her. Terror back at her, overwhelming her with a cacophony of wails and cries. The pursuit of the girl to save her felt desperately real, yet she fought against the emotional tide pulling her. The truth was a trap. Suddenly, the shadows thinned, revealing scattered remnants of memories, treasures, and regrets. Photos, letters, and tokens floated like ghosts, tethered to their owners, and her breath hitched at the sight. Items she recognized from her own life. "Mom," she whispered, reaching for the memories, each piece weighted with grief. "Stay with us, Emily," the whispers cooed, desperate and inviting, yet filled with a sense of treachery. "You must find out the truth about your mother." "No," she screamed, "she's not here." Yet the shadows were relentless, each memory drawing her further in. She stumbled backward, clawing at her ears to block out the encroaching madness, the suffocating despair. She envisioned her mother's face, the way her laughter filled a room, the warmth of her embrace. "You'll see her again, Emily," came the soft voice that lingered in her thoughts, stirring both hope and fear. Emily felt herself teetering at the edge of an invisible chasm. Was she giving in? But just then, a distant crack broke through the shadows, a burst of light shaped like a door, flickering on the brink of existence. It beckoned her, inviting her back to reality. "Emily," the girl wailed again, her form now a flickering phantom. "Don't forget." A surge of determination ignited her spirit as a memory flashed. Her mother had always said, "Remember me, no matter how far the darkness stretches." With a burst of resolve, she charged toward the light, fighting against the chaos that threatened to pull her down. But the door flickered, wavering more with each frantic step. "I will not forget," she shouted, despair morphing into courage. The voices twisted into furious howls, but she pushed onward, breathless and desperate. Just as her fingertips grazed the light, fingers clawed at her wrists, pulling her back into darkness. "Don't leave us," they screamed in unison. A flash of cold dread grasped her heart. As she swung toward the door, the truth loomed, veiled in shadow and agony. Was it already too late to save the girl? The very ground shuddered beneath her as she twisted in defiance. In that moment, Emily felt the gnawing weight of despair close in. Clutching the memories of hope, she wondered if she'd emerged to freedom, or if she was spiraling deeper into a nightmare that thrived on her worst fears. What awaited her on the other side? And was she truly ready to face whatever truth lay waiting? The blinding light swallowed Emily, wrapping around her like a soft blanket. But it was fleeting. Just as she thought she was breaking free, the light flickered violently. The bitter taste of iron filled her mouth, a reminder of the fear and desperation she'd just escaped. Suddenly she collapsed onto cold, hard ground. She was not out of the shadows yet. A damp chill crept into her bones. Emily coughed, tasting earth and decay. Slowly she raised her head, blinking against the fading brightness, where shadows shifted just beyond reach like restless spirits. "Where am I?" The words trembled on her lips. "Welcome back," a calm voice echoed around her. "You've chosen well." She recognized that voice, one of the whispers from the cavern. People or things? Were they watching her again? A figure stepped from the shadows, emerging into the dim light. It was the girl, the one she had tried to save. But this time she was different, her features distorted, her smile warped. "You came through," she said, leaning closer, her breath cold and sweet. "But can you grasp what you've lost?" "Lost?" Emily's voice turned into a whisper, panic racing through her. "Who are you? What do you want from me?" But the girl just laughed, a sound like glass shattering in a desolate room. "We are all lost here, Emily. Some don't even know it." She waved her hand, and the shadows morphed, revealing twisted faces, each gnashing their teeth, clawing at an invisible barrier. "You must choose, or become one of us." Emily's heart raced. She stumbled backward, pushing against the ground. "What do you mean?" "The truth resides deep in your soul," the girl hissed, "and the shadows are hungry for a taste." Emily's eyes darted around. Memory swirled beneath the surface, tormenting her like a bitter wind. In the depths of her mind, she felt her mother's familiar warmth flickering, a shadow of who she once was. "No, I won't let you take her from me." The girl leaned in closer. "The truth will either set you free or cage you in darkness. What is your choice?" The cavern around her shifted, shadows pulsing like a living heartbeat. Memories and regrets flooded back. Visions of laughter, tears, and betrayal clouded her mind. "I don't want this. I just want to go home." "Home is a fragile lie," the girl taunted. The grotesque faces behind her began to intertwine, creating a cacophony of laughter that chilled Emily to the core. "All homes harbor secrets. Yours is no different." With every word, the ground trembled beneath her. Cobwebs of doubt tangled tightly around her thoughts. "Shut up!" she yelled, and took a step back. The swirling shadows seemed to pull and stretch, reaching for her, penetrating deeper into the cracks of her heart. "Get away from me!" "But you're already here," the girl whispered, her eyes shimmering with a haunting light. "You may yet find your truth, but it will require your sacrifice." Emily's breath quickened, each inhale laced with the inflation of despair. The laughter surged, enveloping her in madness. Was she trapped? Was there truly no escape? In a last act of rebellion, she shut her eyes and hollered, "I won't be a part of this." The darkness recoiled, hissing as the light flickered around her, an opportunity teetering on the edge of possibility. But was it?
A trap? Another lie spun by the shadows? Or a genuine path forward? With every second that passed, Emily realized she was still being watched. The jagged whispers thrummed louder as uncertainty loomed. Just then, a different voice cut through the chaos, stern and unyielding. "You have something I need, Emily." She froze, her heart plummeting into the depths of despair. Who was this new figure? What more could they want? Are you ready to confront your darkest fears, or will you be consumed by them? Emily felt a burning rage swell up inside. Facing those fears was her only option, but did that mean surrendering to the shadows once and for all? As the images shifted from hope to dread, she knew she was grasping for something far deeper than her mother's love. This was about her own survival, her very essence entangled within their haunting grip. Could she face whatever waited in the abyss, or was it already too late to reverse her path? Emily awoke, gasping and confused. The cold, hard ground was gone, replaced by the damp embrace of Cedar Hollow's earth, a sickening reminder of where she'd been. Panic surged in her chest as shadows flickered at the edges of her vision, wrapping around her like a suffocating fog. "No!" she screamed, rising to her feet, her breath heavy and uneven.
She was still inside the dark depths beneath the well, still surrounded by the faded remnants of lost souls. The shadows pulsed rhythmically, an unsettling heartbeat that thrummed in tandem with her own, each beat a reminder that time was slipping away. You could choose to join us. The distorted figure of the girl appeared again, face twisted with a maniacal grin. Her voice was smooth like honey, but held an edge that cut deep. The depths could be your sanctuary. No more searching, just surrender. Emily gritted her teeth. No, I won't give in to you. I need to find my mother. The girl let out a laugh, sharp and piercing. You think she's out there, Emily? The truth lies in the void. She is here, with us. And yet she is lost beyond recovery. No, Emily stepped back, heart racing. The whispers flared around her, teasing and taunting, echoing the fears that clawed at her mind. Then, amidst the cacophony, a soft voice broke through. Her mother's. Emily, don't lose hope. The darkness writhed, caught off guard by that voice, and Emily seized her chance. Ignoring the fear that gripped her chest like a vice, she pushed forward, following the sound, determined. "Mom!" she yelled, her voice breaking, desperation in every syllable. "Where are you?" The shadows recoiled. "Stay with us. Stay and know the truth." They hissed, a venomous symphony meant to ensnare her resolve. "No," she shouted, moving deeper into the chamber, away from the illusions that taunted her. "Mom!" An ancient wall loomed ahead, grim and staggering, covered in strange symbols that seemed to pulse with energy. As if drawn by an urge. Emily. Unseen force, she reached out to touch the stone. Cold and firm, it surged with life under her hand. A shudder coursed through her as a pathway opened before her, light spilling through in softly glowing tendrils, illuminating her surroundings with an ethereal glow. The girl screeched, furious, "You can't escape, Emily! You belong here!" Emily bolted through the light, the whispers fading behind her, replaced by a new quiet. Heart racing, she felt the familiar warmth of her mother's spirit nearby. The world shifted, enveloping her in a cocoon of safety, and she stumbled into a wide chamber filled with soft golden light. Then she saw her, standing there, illuminated and serene. Her mother's expression was calm, yet filled with sorrow. "Sweetheart." "Mom!" Emily launched herself into her mother's arms, feeling the warmth of love wrapped around her like a blanket. "I thought I lost you." "I was caught in the shadows, Emily," her mother murmured. "You have to let go of the fear, trust in your strength." "But they said you were lost." Her mother laughed softly, bittersweet. "The shadows thrive on fear. They want you to believe that. You must stand firm." Emily's heart fluttered, realization cutting through her like lightning. This was her moment. Then let's break their hold, together. With newfound resolve, they stepped toward the heart of the chamber, facing the dark mass that ebbed at the periphery. The shadows sneered, angry and frantic, clawing at them like wild beasts. "You can't leave, you're ours!" they shrieked, echoing a chorus of torment. "Not today!" Emily shouted, her voice resonating with power. "You have no claim over us." Channeling everything her mother had taught her, she reached out, conjuring a fierce light within her chest. It burst forth in waves, illuminating the chamber with an incandescent glow that pushed back the shadows. Searing pressure engulfed a space as the darkness writhed in pain, the whispers transformed to cries of terror. "No, this can't be!" the girl's voice shrieked, desperately scrambling backward as the shadows twisted into violent tendrils, striving to escape the blinding light. But it was too late. In a blinding flash, the darkness shattered, dissipating into nothingness. Silence enveloped the chamber as the final remnants of fear evaporated into the air. Emily blinked, gazing into the now clear expanse before her, relief flooding her senses. "Thank you," she whispered, turning to her mother. But the light around them began to fade, reality shifting once more. "Mom, where are you going?" "I'll always be with you, Emily. Remember that." And with a gentle smile, her mother melted into the light, enveloped in warmth and love. Emily's heart ached, yet she felt the strength in the bond they shared. The shadows could never take that away. As the chamber dissolved into nothingness, Emily's feet touched solid ground. She found herself back outside Cedar Hollow Hospital. The dawn broke over the horizon, painting the world in warm yellows and soft oranges. With her heart pulsing, she took a...
The whispers were gone. Peace reigned in the air. She had faced the darkest corners of her fear and emerged victorious, not just for herself, but for all those lost in the shadows. "I will never forget," she vowed softly to the wind. She turned away from the haunted hospital, leaving the echoes of Cedar Hollow behind, ready to step into the light of a new dawn, forever changed, but at peace. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comment section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And for the love of everything thrilling, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.